Hey YouTube, this is Charles from our tiny cabin project, and today I'm going to bring you a brief update of the garden. Alright, so here we are. We've got Speck squawking away. She obviously wants to go upstairs. There we go. We're having to keep the coop locked. Princess Leia here has been brooding, and there's nothing worse than a brooding chicken. So she's been wanting to hog the nesting box, which is really throwing off the lay schedule for both Speck and Thundercluck. And Thundercluck is our powerhouse layer, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the garden today and tell you what's been going on with the tiny house. One update in the backyard at the city house is we got one of these inflatable pools, and I'll tell you what, this came in the nick of the time because it kind of relates to the story I'm going to tell you about of why there's not been any tiny house videos lately. So, but before we do that, let's take a look at the garden. Now you guys probably recall a couple videos ago, actually it might have been the last video, I posted a video of the urban garden, and that was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Maybe about 2 weeks ago. So I want you guys to take a look at the progress our garden has made, and just like, I'm gonna say, you know, you take into consideration editing and all that, this has been about, time-wise, about 2.5 weeks since we planted. Our herbs are popping. The peppers have not really grown that much. The thyme has been coming in quite nicely. The radishes are starting to plump up. And the tomato plants, oh my goodness. Let me put it into perspective for you guys as to how these tomato plants are. It is only the middle of June. I'm gonna bet that we end up with 10-foot tall tomato plants. Now, for size reference, I'm almost 6 foot tall. And these tomato plants are almost as tall as I am. So I really think that probably by the end of August, these two tomato plants might end up being over 10 feet tall. Another interesting observation is along our fence line here, we have stuff popping up that was from last year's garden that has come back. This is chamomile. This is basil. Smells good. Outside of the raised planter bed, we've got tomatoes popping up. Tomatoes popping up everywhere. I always let a few go down every year with the plant, and then I mow it down and then mulch it up into the ground. I always get tomatoes to come back every year. I've never had a year where I haven't had tomatoes come back. And it's a lot easier to do it that way than trying to dry out the seeds and process them. You just let Mother Nature do its thing. These 3 tomato plants here behind the 2 big ones, these are all Deadfall tomatoes that have come back from last year. As you can see, the sugar snap peas, I can't remember if they're sugar snap or snow peas, are starting to come in pretty well. Actually, they could be green beans. I don't even remember. The zucchini plants are finally starting to pop and flower. I was really worried that the zucchinis were not going to come in this year, so we went and we bought 2 plants. So these are not what I germinated. Same goes with the cucumber. As you can see, it's starting to feed onto the fence just like I wanted it to, which will help kind of create like a natural lattice as well as some privacy. And it looks like our cucumber is also flowering, which is good news. Now, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go ahead and pick their first fruit. They're, I would say about yay big. What this does is kind of along the same lines of pruning. It will help the rest of the plant fill out. Gotta get my radish. Another really crazy thing that's kind of new is the chickens have been making these little wallow holes along the fence line, and as you can see, this fence line consists mostly of poison ivy, poison oak, and sumac. I only see thundercluck. I'm gonna guess that Princess Leia has hijacked the nesting box. Let's find out. Oh, how'd I know? Let me get her out. Yes, I know. Another crazy thing about our chickens is, like I said, the fence line is made up of ivy, she hadn't laid yet. Chickens are covered in feathers, which makes them like a mop. So, both John and I have spots on our body where we are covered in poison ivy, oak, sumac. Not fun. Who'd have thought? At first I was convinced it was bird mites, because I've never broken out really in poison ivy in my life. I always used to joke and tell people it's because I'm a greasy Italian. But I guess I'm getting older and I'm not as greasy of an Italian. And yeah, chickens like to roll around in poison sumac, poison ivy, and poison oak. Just a heads up for you who free range your chickens. Princess Frostbite! Our orange lilies are also starting to bloom. Hello, Mr. Butterfly. We got more radishes coming in here. Now this garden, we seriously need to weed it. We just haven't had time. It also has kind of to do with why we haven't been down to the tiny house. You guys will understand. I'll get to it in just a minute. These tomatoes are starting to flower. These peppers back here are doing really well. And then it looks like the squash are starting to pop up. I really need to get in there and weed this garden. This garden is kind of like the leftover of, like, we need to get this stuff in the ground. We don't have anywhere to put it. So pretty much anything that comes out of this garden right here, this bed right here, is kind of like, yay, freebie, because we didn't really anticipate on having this as a garden bed. This is actually where the chicken coop used to be. So now, I'll tell you guys what's been going on with the tiny house. Are you ready for a little story? So, I recently started a new job, which is an excellent thing because the situation I was in was an incredibly unpleasant situation. I'm not really going to go into all that because it's kind of moot. But I digress. I started a new job. Well, last week was my first day at the new job. And the night before, we've been having unusually hot early summers here in St. Louis. Let me put it this way, we've been having heat indexes of upwards to 103 already. And the night before I start my new job, the motor in the air conditioner goes out. And I have to go to sleep before my first day of my new job in a house that has zero insulation in the attic. The ductworking isn't done properly with no AC. Fun times. Suffice to say, if it wasn't for the swamp cooler I recently purchased, we'd have been SOL. Here, I'll let you guys take a look at what I'm talking about when I say swamp cooler. This is actually a good idea of ways to cool a home off the grid. Like, we plan on possibly using one at the tiny house. Apologize for the lighting, guys. This is a swamp cooler. It's a fan that has a cascading waterfall inside of it. And you fill it with a bucket of water and you put ice or cryo packs in it to keep the water chill. and through an evaporative process, it cools the room. Does it cool the room as good as a traditional air conditioner? No, but it will bring the room down 20 degrees cooler than the ambient temperature, especially right in the path of where the airflow is. So as long as you have it right pointing on you, you can stay nice and cool. The beautiful thing about swamp coolers is they draw considerably less amount of electricity than an air conditioner. You could run one of these absolutely no problem off your solar grid and battery bank. Let's go take a look at the cabbage real quick. Oh wait, no, I forgot. I was telling you guys a story. Okay, so yeah, I start my new job and I wake up, go to work the next day, and luckily our landlord is a rock star and she had a repairman out that day to get our air conditioner fixed. So I'm like, great, okay. So I'm coming home to a house that now has air conditioning, and on the way home, I start noticing something weird going on with my CRV. Now, mind you, I just bought this CRV last year. I've only got 2 payments left on it. The air conditioner starts to go out on the CRV. And I'm like laughing to myself. I'm thinking it just needs a charge. No problem. I have the tool at home, throw a charge on, no big deal. Not so much. I get home, and then all of a sudden it starts making what I thought at first was a belt squeal. It's not a belt squeal, it's some kind of bearing noise. Ba-boom, ba-boom. The compressor locks up on the CRV and throws the serpentine belt and snaps it. I am not mechanically inclined. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm a little bit. I can do some things. I can charge an AC unit, I can change oil, maybe put on brake pads, you know, little stuff. But taking apart half of an engine to put a new serpentine belt on and all that jazz and the timing, is not my, no, I can't, no, not for me. So I find out it's gonna cost probably about $1,000 or more to fix the CRV. Now, yeah, there's a quick fix where I could have the mechanic put in a, you know, just a pulley and bypass the compressor, but I just paid $5,000 for a car that's got 1 or 2 payments left on it. I'll be damned if I'm going to be driving 40 minutes a day, every day to my new job without air conditioning when it's 105 to 115 degrees outside in sweltering St. Louis humidity. Not going to happen. Especially if some of you guys don't know, I work with children with a diagnosis of autism, so I can't exactly be showing up to work all sweaty and stinky and unpleasant to be around, especially with individuals who might have some sort of sensory processing disorder. Might not go so well. I digress. I come home, the CRV is dead. Day 3, I'm heading into work. The house is starting to cool back down. I know there's something wrong with my car. I go to back out, no power steering. I pop the hood, and that's when I find the belt's broken. I get up, I run inside, I say, John, I need to borrow the truck. Now mind you, I haven't driven the truck since I had it plated and had the emissions and all that done. So I hop in the truck and I start heading out to work. The air conditioning's not working in the Dakota. Yet again, it's 102 outside. Not fun. So then I get home and I decide to start to charge the AC on the Dakota. Also, I noticed on the way to work a complete loss, about 20% of power. This knocking noise, which sounded either like the transmission or a lifter problem. It's like a piston knocking. Almost no power. Truck's going dog-ass slow. I mean, it'll get up to 60, 70, but it takes you a minute to get there. So I'm looking over the truck and I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I also notice that the inside tire, the belt was showing. That needed to be fixed. It was in desperate need of an oil change. Got that fixed. It was a little low on oil. Added the oil, got the oil changed. I charged up the AC, and one of the hoses that regulates the air conditioner has a vacuum. One of the vacuum hoses has a leak in it, so I zip tied that tighter shut. so that way the air would work a little better. And then I discovered that the gas can nozzle, the plastic had broke, and it was just bouncing around inside. I'm like, what the I bust off all the broken plastic, and I did it the good old American fashioned way. Wire and coat hangers. I'd have fixed it with duct tape if I had the duct tape. So, suffice to say, the truck is running, but not very well. It's on its last leg. The Dakota has over 350,000 miles on it. I bought the truck on a salvage title. We've had it for as long as we've had the tiny house. Because originally, the tiny house was so off-grid that we needed a truck to get to some parts of our property. But, like there was one part where we had to cross a creek, literally, in the truck to get to a section of our property. But now there are roads in because down on the riverfront, a campground went in. It's a good 15 minutes from our actual property, so we don't have crowding going on, but still, the riverfront's not as nice as it used to be, but it's still nice. But up on top of the mountain, it's still really private. But I digress, so if we have to get rid of the truck, it's not a big deal because now there are roads going down to the island. I'm afraid the Dakota has seen its final days. But at least we have one vehicle that's running. But you're probably asking, how did John get to work if the CRV is here and the Dakota is also here? If you notice how far pulled up the CRV is, it's because John's mom has been letting us use her Mustang. So anyway, since I have to drive the farthest to work, and I work with kids, and it's like a 45-minute drive to my job in the hot, I decided to take the Mustang on the next day to work because the truck isn't safe to drive, and John has to go take the truck to get the truck fixed up enough to where it's safe enough to drive because that tire could blow out at any moment. The CRV is down. The house just got fixed. I hop into John's mom's car, and there's no air conditioning. It started to blow a little bit, but then it stopped. There's absolutely zero charge on the Mustang, and I'm like, oh my God, people, you just don't want me to have air. So I go and I finish up my day at my new job. I come home, and the tool that I need to use to charge the air conditioner is broken. So then I run down to O'Reilly's and I buy a new tool. I charge up John's mom's Mustang's AC with Freon. And her valve stem has a slight leak in it, but cramping down the valve stem cap real tight, I think it's been holding. So worst case scenario, we'll have to add Freon to it every month or so, which is still better than having no AC. So I digress. She's going to let us use the Mustang until we can afford to get the CRV fixed. To have the compressor switched out, I'm probably looking at roughly about $1,000 to $1,200 to have the air conditioner compressor fixed and the belt put on and filled up with Freon. We don't have that kind of money. And I'm in the middle of a job change, so finances are kind of wackadoodle right now anyway. Back to the garden. Look at our cabbages. Now, as you can see, they kind of got ate up a little bit. We were trying to go all natural. I said, forget that. And John went and got some aphid spray, so all of our vegetables and everything have now been sprayed to help control the bugs. We also got these really cool pink flamingos, because you know we fancy like that. But anyway, guys, that's what's been going on with us. We'll get you some more tiny house videos coming up soon, but you know, with the tiny house being 2.5 hours away, we don't really have a dependable vehicle to get down there, and a lot of our finances are going to be focused on getting the CRV back up and running. So it very well may be at least a month or two before we can get you a tiny house video. It is what it is. It really bothers me, but there's not much I can do about it. So I thought I'd bring you a little update so you know what's going on. And until next time, this is Charles with Our Tiny Cabin Project. Catch you later.